Welcome back to the discussion, the end user revolt and how to improve it. Sponsored by ThunderCat Technology and Riverbed Technology on Federal News Radio, part of the Federal News Network. My guests today are Kurt Steege, Chief Technology Officer of ThunderCat Technology, and Marlon McFate, Federal Chief Technology Officer, Riverbed Technology. I'm your moderator, John Gilroy. You know, we've all seen promises of moving to the cloud and things are going to get better and this is going to happen and that's going to get better. But you may be working for a federal agency and you hear these promises about a cloud, and then after the cloud's installed, you may have some questions, and there's no way to go back and forth with the cloud provider unless you have some specifics to start the discussion with. So can Riverbed help us with giving us some specifics?
No, absolutely. So really, I think what's important to understand is that regardless if you're in the cloud or not, from the provider's perspective, they still look at it as your responsibility to monitor your network, monitor your applications. They're really there providing an infrastructure as a service or a software as a service. Outside of making sure that that is working, your performance, how you get there, your end user experience, all that still is your responsibility, just as if it was an application sitting inside of your data center, right? So having that visibility into that area is incredibly important. I can remember if we went back a couple of years, that was one of the very concerns, right?
Yeah, it was.
I lose visibility. That's not the case anymore. You can have visibility, all the same type of visibility that you had before within your data center through utilizing our visibility, even all the way into the cloud. And that's your flow, your packets. It doesn't matter. We can still get all that information for you within the cloud.
Kurt, if you go to Google Trends and type in DevOps, you see a ramp all the way up. Hot topic, real hot topic. And one precept or principle of DevOps is iterate and test and investigate. So can this product help our listeners do that at all?
Can this product do it? I'd have to pitch that back over to you. But,
absolutely.
So from a DevOps perspective, I think what's really important is understanding, again, user experience. User experience is going to affect every aspect of what you're talking about. When you're talking about building things in the cloud or building things locally, the DevOps world is really automating all of that, automating the testing that has to go with that, from a security, from a static code analysis, dynamic code analysis, from a user experience perspective, and doing all these things down the line. And I think what's interesting now is that adding tools like Eternity in there, where you can now have not only the information around how your servers are performing locally or in the cloud, how your network is performing from an internal perspective, from a core perspective, from an external perspective, and to that cloud provider, and now having a product like Eternity to say, okay, now we have the user feedback and what's coming out from my user base. So giving you a full picture there of how everything works gives you a better control of how you can address any concerns that are out there.
So go on.
I'll just add to that. So from a DevOps perspective, we have a number of portions of our visibility, not just Eternity, but within other areas of our visibility that are actually used in that quite a bit. So one of the powerful things that Eternity specifically can do for you is comparison before and after, right? So we find that a lot of customers are using it in that fashion. I'm going to make a change to this application. I'm going to update. What is that actual quantified as an impact to my end users? Does that make it better? Did it make it worse? But we see it even outside of DevOps. We also see that as, I moved this application to the cloud. There's a civilian organization right now that just moved an entire app to the cloud over a weekend. And they actually moved back because they realized that the performance was that much worse, and that was all quantified by the end user experience through Eternity. So it's definitely used as a comparison back and forth, and during the dev process to validate the changes.
Is there an API that you use that way in order to make that happen?
Absolutely.
Because that's the important thing on the DevOps side. Yep. It's really making sure from a coding and from an operation, so the development of an application and the operation of the application, and then adding what's becoming more and more the term is DevSecOps, which is the security piece of it as well.
In fact, all the way to, let's say you're using ServiceNow, right? So after that change, automated process to say, okay, there has actually been a negative effect and then actually producing tickets and then rolling it all back into, absolutely.
Earlier in this discussion, we talked about the complexity of systems with public and private and all kinds of virtualized systems as well. But to hold on to your hats, in the next 5 years, we're going to have a deluge of information from sensors from every possible, from airplanes, from energy environments, all kinds of sensors. There's going to be mobile devices. And so just putting this perspective in the next few years, how can your services help us adapt to the future changes we're going to expect?
One of the things that I keep on saying over the last couple of years is obviously the huge explosion in complexity, the huge explosion in the amount of data, and this really just kind of goes down that same exact path, right? I feel that we're going to, and if you read, anything online, you probably would agree with me, is we need to start looking at how we manage networks, how we deploy networks, how we optimize end user experience, how we monitor all those things in a different fashion. I don't see, what you said was the IoT and the explosion there. We're already seeing it, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. So we're going to have to rethink how we are managing, deploying, and optimizing our networks for end user experience.
The mobile device is the sensor
Exactly.
in many cases.
Kurt, you can't have a discussion about federal IT with the mandatory word of compliance. And so what the heck does compliance do with this whole discussion?
Well, I mean, so from a compliance standpoint, I mean, we have to look at it in multiple ways. We were talking about compliance. Obviously, we're talking about user experience. So, the compliance of how you want to present things, that's separate at this point. I think we've addressed that. But from a compliance standpoint, we're looking at all the different regulations that are out there, and that is mostly resolving how your data is being secured. There are many products to do that out there. There are many products to work around that, but not only locally, but also in flight as well.
Yeah.
So would a better system experience be kind of the outcome for people who use your equipment, your system?
Yeah, absolutely. A better end user experience, and then also answering that age-old question, which is I guess actually really wasn't answered. That's the reason why we came up with Eternity, which is somebody says the network is slow or the application is slow. Well, is it? And how much? And where is it? It's comical to a certain degree that looking at the end user's experience from the end user's perspective is such a new idea, right?
You can go to a database decision rather than a feeling or a hunch or a thought.
Yeah.
No. I think that's interesting, and I actually did a talk a couple weeks ago. But what I find is you don't talk about the user experience when you're going online shopping, when you're looking on Amazon for something. And I think where a lot of federal agencies are coming around to the point is now we want that experience, and you can compare the two pretty significantly. Where when you want to get something from whatever your online shopping du jour is, you want to make sure that you have the information that you want there. You want to make sure that you see what's coming in. You want to make sure that you have related products, and then from the inside, the online shopping vendor wants to have that information, be able to understand what's what they're presenting, and then have that information to say, okay, now I can present these things better. And I think a lot of the different agencies are looking to do that with their own applications at this point right now, so that their users are happy with what's there. And not only users, but you can even throw it out to some of the folks who deal directly with the public and making sure the public can get what they want from the government as well.
I'd like to thank today's guests, Kurt Steege, Chief Technology Officer of ThunderCat Technology, and Marlon McFate, Chief Technology Officer of Riverbed Technology. I'm your moderator, John Gilroy, and you're listening to Federal News Radio, part of the Federal News Network. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search ThunderCat.